light our flame, I chose Mary Oliver to accompany us this morning, and alongside our flame lighting, I'll read The World I Live In. I have refused to live locked in the orderly house of reason and proof. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe what once or twice I have seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one. My name is Sarah Drew. I am the outreach coordinator here at First Existentialist, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our celebration of life this morning. We are very glad that you're here. I am going to turn our attention to Kathy McGuire, our musician for this morning, and song number 36 in the Pink Book, Once to Every One and Nation, thank you. 36 in the Pink Book. You can rise as you are, willing and able. Philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to human liberation. We make our spiritual home in the Old Stone Church, which was hand-built by the African American Antioch East Baptist Church. We acknowledge that racial drove those African Americans from the area, and we honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muskogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all Indigenous people. In choosing our opening words for this morning, I was drawn to Mary Oliver, and I was then wondering, why was I drawn to Mary Oliver? And I think the feeling that I'm feeling for our talk this morning and for today is reverence. And I love Mary Oliver for her attention to nature and the reverence she calls in her, I think, concise words. And so I'd like to continue to reference her with her poem, The Sunflowers. Come with me into the field of sunflowers. Their faces are burnished discs, their dry spines creak like shipmasts, their green leaves so heavy and many fill all the day with the sticky sugars of the sun. Come with me to visit the sunflowers. They are shy, but want to be friends. They have wonderful stories of when they were young, the important weather, the wandering crows. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. Their bright faces, which follow the sun, will listen. And all those rows of seeds, each one, a new life. Hope for a deeper acquaintance. Each of them, through it, stands in a crowd of many, like a separate universe, is lonely. The long work of turning their lives into celebration is not easy. Come, and let us talk with those modest faces, the simple garments of leaves, the coarse roots in the earth, so uprightly burning. I'd like to call for community announcements. If you have any community announcements, please write them down and bring them up to me. I will announce them shortly. Pen and paper are available at the back table where Mary is standing. Also, please feel free to move around the sanctuary as you need during the service. We just ask that you do so quietly, as not to disturb others. We have coffee and tea in the kitchen at the back and a bathroom near the front entrance. There's also a bathroom downstairs to the far right as you go down the stairs. We'd like to welcome any newcomers. This is totally optional, but if you are new, maybe your first or second time, and you'd like to introduce yourself, we don't want to put you on the spot, but if you're willing, please tell us your name and how you found out about First Existentialist, or how you happened to come in this morning. Do we have any newcomers? Yeah? Please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ian, and this is my wife, Millie. It was just space that we walked by one day, and we were looking for a church that would be like-minded to us. And so we're super excited to be here for our first time today, and it's great to make your acquaintance.
Any other newcomers? All right, you get all of our welcoming energy this morning. Good. All right, we'll move to birthdays and anniversaries. Anybody have a birthday or an anniversary? Kathy, I thought you might be popping up because of your birthday, but you're popping up to accompany. Yeah, I hear you. Any birthdays or anniversaries? Nobody? All right, everybody. All right, everybody's sure in their no birthday anniversary-ness. All right, we'll move to congregational song number 2. Kathy's actually going to coach us on this one, so no need for a book.
So I was looking for a Muskogee Creek song, since we are on Muskogee Creek Land. I realized that I already knew one. When I kind of did a little research and discovered that they actually, starting in the early 1800s, had developed this very robust, congregational hymn singing practice in the Muskogee language. And one of the hymns actually made it through. So they have their own hymnal that they're trying to preserve. The melodies weren't written down. So a lot of the elders, know the melodies by oral tradition. There was actually a researcher, I want to say, I can't think what the college was, but they were trying to preserve this by recording some of the elders singing the songs. But this particular piece made its way into the Methodist hymnal, and a couple of, so I've sung it a couple times in choirs. And it's called Hallelujah, which is Muskogee for hallelujah. And those are the only words, so I think you can have it. Who's going to come up and help me, and I'm going to get my first note.
We usually would do a fellowship minister moment, and Marcia is here, but we're not going to make her talk this morning. She is not feeling perfectly up to it. So maybe we'll just take a moment to send her our good energy. And then we'll move to community announcements. Do we have any others? I have a couple up here to read, but feel free to continue to bring them on up to me as I'm going. September 17th is Founders Day. That is 1 week away, and there will be a potluck after the COL, so bring a covered dish to share next week. And then letting you know that this event is coming Saturday, October 7th from 2 to 4 p.m. It's our banned book celebration of those books, not the banning of the books, but of actual books, in case there was any confusion. And then the announcement alongside that is that we need people to read from banned books. We're going to have about 5-ish minute readings of different banned books. So if you have a favorite banned book and you would like to read, we are soliciting your performance. So you can contact Libby. She's raising her hand there if you are interested in doing that. And we have flyers in the back that you can post in coffee shops. We would really like to be a community event. There's going to be a book exchange. There will be so bring a banned book, take a banned book kind of thing. There's going to be some food, there's going to be music, and of course those readings that I mentioned. So I'm really excited about that. Again, October 7th from 2 to 4 p.m. Do we have any other community announcements? All right, moving right along. We are going to practice our time of silence next. It'll last for about 5 minutes. And you may wish to meditate or pray or just sit silently. There are candles at each side of the sanctuary if you would like to light one for any reason. If you do move around the sanctuary, we just ask that you do so as quietly as you can so that that silence is really as quiet as possible. And I'll let you know when your time is up. So please settle in. Close your eyes if you're comfortable doing it. We'll move into our next congregational song that's in the new songbook about Binder, and it's called If You're Looking for Freedom. It's alphabetical, so it's I, if you're looking for freedom.
get started, I want to just say skugtash to everyone, which means good day in my awesome language. Because I have been in higher education for only almost 4 years now, I've come to realize that it's also important for me to introduce myself with my family connections and my community connections. So, as mentioned, I'm a citizen of the Tohono Nation, which means I'm an enrolled member of my tribe that's located in the southwestern part of Arizona. Our traditional homelands and now contemporary reservation border the U.S. and Mexico lines. And on my maternal grandfather's side, he is from Mashungabi village, which is in Second Mesa, Arizona, and he is from the Tobacco clan. And then on my father's side, he is Dene from the Navajo Nation, born and raised in an area called Kitsilli, Arizona, which is kind of the Black Mesa area where a lot of the Peabody coal mining happens. So of course, when we go to visit, oftentimes those roads change up because they're dirt roads and it depends on where they're mining to know which way we're supposed to navigate. So I've been back to Kitsilli maybe 2 years ago, but I haven't been back recently, and I know that if we drove the route that we went 2 years ago, it probably would not be the same route. So again, just thank you for welcoming me here. And I just wanted to also kind of acknowledge where some of my work comes from. Emory University announced a formal land acknowledgement that really I think is part of the root of the work that's happening at Emory University and why also I'm so passionate about moving this work forward. And so a little bit about my own nation. So this is a picture from Tohono Nation. It's a place that I usually will drive by heading down to my grandmother's house in Tapawa, Arizona. And because of the community sort of connections and this idea that I need to serve my community in many different ways drives my professional work as well. And so I'm going to scroll to the next slide that just has a map to show where some of my reservation nations are from, and I'm trying to figure out which best way to stand here. So as you can see on the lower part is Tohono Nation, and then my Hopi connections are actually a reservation that's surrounded by the Navajo Nation, but Second Mesa is actually the longest inhabited area in the United States. So of course, I always kind of chuckle to myself because my daughter's class had an announcement that said, we all come from somewhere else. And I sent a message to the school saying, well, we don't all come from somewhere else. Some of us have been here since time immemorial. So they were very gracious to kind of step back and correct that. So again, this idea about like serving my community, why am I here in Atlanta, Georgia, thousands of miles away from my traditional homelands, away from my family? I came to Emory University and I went to Rollins School of Public Health, and when I was there, I felt like I saw a real need for Indigenous evaluators in public health. I know that there were Indigenous evaluators out there working in this contemporary setting, but we didn't have a lot of evaluators that were doing the work. And so I decided that was the path I was going to take in public health so that our numbers would grow. And we would be doing the work and we would be helping to shape the conversations in places like CDC and other federal agencies that have a more westernized view of what evaluation might look like. And so I show this picture here of my like 10 plus relatives who came to my graduation, and my grandmother sitting in the very middle with the red on. She at the time was in her 80s, and she was an elder Othan woman that said, I'm going to my granddaughter's graduation ceremony, but I am not getting on a plane. And she told the whole family, someone's gonna drive me there. So it was made a decision that all of them were going to caravan over to Atlanta, Georgia. And so they rented like two 12-passenger vans, and they all hopped in and made it to my graduation. And so when I look back at this picture, it just reminds me that I have a lot of family support behind me while I'm here in Atlanta, even though I'm far away. And so there's this idea of like, how am I gonna serve my community while I'm so far from home? And I also knew that when I came to Atlanta, I wasn't gonna have a robust Indigenous community in the local Atlanta area. I was okay with that. I felt, secure in knowing that I would find a small community somewhere. And so when the opportunity rose for me to come to Emory and serve in the admissions office, I understood that there was a lot of work to be done, but I also understood that I had two individuals that were sort of asking me to do this work as well. So I'm going to just quickly go through one slide here so I can get to the next one. Talking a little bit about Emory's Native American and Indigenous Studies Initiative, which is an ad hoc committee at our university. So we are made up of faculty, staff, students, alumni. We have a few CDC scientific staff partners that come to our meetings as well. But this is really kind of an internal campus effort to find ways to grow visibility about Indigenous issues, recognize that we are still here and that we contribute in contemporary ways. And so I think that a lot of this ad hoc committee work is what stands at the root of the new center that was launched at Emory, which Professor Melinda Lowry is now heading. So Emory has a Center for Native American and Indigenous Studies. It is small, but the idea is that it will grow a minor in Native Studies to ultimately become a major in Native American Studies. And that's really exciting because we are in a liberal arts college setting that, really prides itself in being a place where you can integrate various interests and really solve contemporary problems and push fields forward. And we should have a Native American Studies program available to our students that are coming from across the globe. So I'm really excited about it. I think that it's important. And then we also have our Native American Student Association. So according to Emory's institutional dashboard, we have 12 students on campus, and that's undergraduate, graduate, and professional schools. But that doesn't mean that we sort of leave them at the back and no concern for them. We have about 8, I'd say each year about 8 undergraduates that are Native American that really want to push forward their work as well on the campus. And so they've called short NASA. Their NASA programming is unofficial as well. It's unchartered by the college council, but that doesn't stop them from doing the work as well. And I think, again, that's because they understand that the visibility of their efforts on campus are crucial. And so I just wanted to also list our partners across campus that are really invested in our work that happens. So kind of going back to this idea of like what drives me to do the work, I was sitting very comfortably in public health, really enjoying working at the CDC, but then I had relatives of my own, and relatives meaning my community members, which is Professor Craig Womack and our young scholar, Clement Henry. The two of them were already starting early discussions on campus about where is our Native representation, why don't we have more Native undergraduates on campus. Of course, in an interview that Professor Craig Womack offered when he first started at Emory, he said that the reason he moved from Oklahoma to Atlanta was because he felt like it was important for him to be teaching on his traditional homelands. And hearing his words like that, knowing that he was going to come home to teach on his homelands, resonated with me. And so the two of them together are talking to, the campus community, pushing efforts forward, and then asking, now that Craig is retired, of course Klamath graduated in 2019, who was going to pick up the work next? There was a robust set of non-native campus community members that would continue the work, but where was, the native representation that could also help guide it? So I felt like it was a particular calling to me because I knew then that it was the right next move for me, because when your community is asking for the help, you definitely listen to the call that they're asking for. So I was excited about it, but I was also nervous because I did not have formal training in higher education. I had my training in public health, but I will absolutely say that my experiences at the University of Arizona helped shape what I understood to be a rich and nurturing place for Indigenous students at that institution. And so I feel like I'm trying to take what I learned as a student at the University of Arizona and, help it guide what I think that the undergrads might want at Emory University and what the campus can look like at Emory University. And of course, I think that this job is fulfilling as well because I get to informally mentor our undergraduates at Emory. So of course we're going to grab coffee and talk a little bit about how their semester is going. We're thinking about where they will be in the summer once their time is off, and I'm really proud of them because we hosted a summer program that was focused on recruiting Indigenous students to various colleges, and the nonprofit director asked if we could hire on an intern that was also an Emory Indigenous undergrad. And I said, we can't do that because they're all off doing something. They're in research programs, they're in internships, they're studying abroad. And so it was really, it was sad that we didn't get to have like a current student talk to these high school prospective students, but it was also really a proud moment to say that they're doing their thing and they're excited about their next ventures. But I also credit our campus community for nurturing them in that way. If they didn't have a community on campus, I don't know how successful they would be during this, during the academic year. And having a trusted sort of group of individuals that you can go to when you need resources is an important part of, flourishing on your campus. And so just talking a little bit about here, some of the NASI contributions. Again, we're thinking through these ideas of how we can obtain more visibility across campus through programming and through events and through, I think, what are probably many moments that are historical to Emory University. And the first one being, which is pictured here, and it's in another slide, but the picture shown here is this past May, was Emory's first inaugural celebration of Native and Indigenous graduates. So we had Sierra Talavera Brown and Ilea Breathitt from Dene Nation and then also from White Earth Nation in Minnesota. The two of them, finished their degree at Emory University, and we wanted to celebrate them and show them how much we were excited for them to take their next steps forward. And so it was important for our campus partners as well to sort of step in and say, let's make this happen. And again, this is just nothing. Many of the programming that we're doing is a first of its kind because it didn't exist before this, and I feel like that's another reason why I'm trying to figure out how we create this space where Indigenous voices are centered and that we're guiding how programming and other opportunities are, executed. And this is one of the ideas that came forward from our undergraduates. Many of their peers said, we want to celebrate Sierra and Ilea, and how can we make that happen? So having them really take the lead and say, tell us what you want, like tell us how you envision this celebration for them, was also a really critical step. And so it's listening to our young scholars and helping to guide them into the right places so that these things can get done. And so in 2021, Emory's Carlos Museum had the Each Other exhibit, which was Mariwa and Chinoopa Hanska Luger. I think this was an exciting time because this was also, I think, according to Professor Megan O'Neill, it was the first time that Carlos hosted an Indigenous contemporary art exhibit. So again, it's this idea that we're trying to be sure that our campus community does not consider our tribal nations as people of the past, but that we're also people of the present. And so this was exciting because we also had Marie and Chinoopa on campus to offer guest lectures, to get into classrooms and facilitate discussions. And of course, featured here is Trey Harp and Sierra Talavera Brown to the left. And then at the top, you'll see some members from the College of Muskogee Nation that came to campus. So College of Muskogee Nation is a tribal college that is operated by the Muskogee Nation, and I think that's another important way that we're seeing sovereignty executed on our campus as well, is being able to host that group of students. And so some of the things that you'll notice is that several of the students and staff are wearing orange. So when they came to campus on September 30th, it was also the US's day to recognize the atrocities that happened in the US Indian boarding schools. And so again, just thinking back to this idea that in the spring, Emory University and the College of Muskogee Nation decided to partner together to submit a grant to the Mellon Foundation. And being awarded that grant, which was $2+ million, half of it goes to College of Muskogee Nation, the other half to Emory University. For Muskogee Nation and College of Muskogee Nation, their monies will be used to launch and sustain their Muskogee Master Apprentice Program, which will further the learning and the training of their Muskogee traditional speakers. And so I think that's an exciting thing for Emory to not only be partnering with them for that, but to learn from them, right? So this is not Emory being positioned in a way of we are the leaders and we're a Research One institution. We are the students that are learning from College of Muskogee Nation. And this language reclamation is really important because for me, I have, even though Muskogee is not my first language, my father went to boarding school. So I'm only one generation removed from boarding school, and unfortunately that's the reason why I don't speak Navajo, even though he's fluent in Navajo. And so there's this whole idea of like, even when I'm in admissions and I'm reading files and I see students that have global languages listed or they have another first language spoken at home, I'm just in awe of it because I know that I should have it and I do not. And I oftentimes share with my colleagues the story about what my dad has been willing to share with me is that when he was only a little kid, maybe 7 or 8 years old, was his first time starting in boarding school, and he wasn't able to speak in his Navajo language. So imagine being like in your bed away from home and having to whisper to your friends in your own language. And every time I think about that, it makes me so emotional because I could not imagine me being a 7 or 8 year old having to whisper, knowing that you have to whisper. So the fact that my work in some way is helping another nation to preserve their language, to reclaim their language, is important to me. And I just hope that we can just continue to expand these efforts, and that maybe in the future we're having Muskogee language courses at Emory University. I think that would be wonderful. But I know that my time is at 20 minutes, so I'm going to stop there and just say that I think what drives me, of course, is an obligation to community. And so in all of my professional settings, I have always tried to find a way to make sure that my professional work is impacting tribal communities. And so right now at Emory University, my work is impacting our students, is impacting our institution, and that I hope that it just continues to grow. But I really appreciate the time to spend with you and share a little bit more about what's happening. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Can you tell me where the students' university college is?
Mogi, Oklahoma.
We will move on to our closing congregational song, which is in the pink spiral bound books, number 107, Imagine.